Good evening. How are you? Well, I spent most of the day writing, but in the back humming is this talk about the subpoena for Trump. And every moment I hear anything about it, that it cuts through my thinking about pleadings I'm writing, makes me angry. It makes me angry that we are such appeasers. I mean, do you think these guys would sit down with Hitler and accommodate him and arrange a meeting and so forth? Probably, because they don't know the history ahead of them when they're doing it. They don't make the judgment. But here we have Trump, and we have so many data points that this man is a wrecker, a destroyer for his own personal ambition, without any of the enlightened feelings that the best of our leaders have, which is to help the sick, the homeless, to encourage businesses, to feature the arts, to do discovery, to go to space, to do these things. That's not Trump. Trump is a mongrel. Trump bites to get money and power and personal amusement at the expense of everybody else, betrays anyone when it's convenient, is loyal to no one. And those are his good points. Okay, so what am I really upset about? The Judiciary Committee votes a subpoena, and then they diddle around writing it. And then they diddle around when he should appear. That is after the elections, if he did appear. And no doubt he'll talk about the size of the table, and he'll beat these guys at their game. Now, if this was the first rodeo, I'd say, well, okay, maybe it's possible. But how can you possibly deal with, I don't know, the Queen's rules with this torrent of evil that exists on a daily basis? You cannot appease a criminal. There's just no way. And that's what we try to do all the time, no matter how many people tell us this guy is a bad force. So we're going to be standing there scratching our heads saying, geez, I never thought he'd take over the government and become a dictator. Is somebody going to say that on one of the networks before they close it down? Are you and I, because we think differently than Trump, going to find ourselves in a camp somewhere on a cot, wondering how we got there? Well, if it happens to me, I'll know how it happened. I heard Mike Cohen today say that he had family in Canada, and he didn't say he would go there, but he mentioned it as if it was a possibility. What is it about us, and what is it about our leaders? No nerve, no commitment, no courage, no force, no fight. I've had this concern my whole life, but I have seen fighters. You know, I was spoiled with all the defects of the Kennedys. You know, Jack Kennedy gave his life, so did Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy fought like mad as the Attorney General of the United States to get Hoffa. What do you think he would do with Trump? And what the hell is wrong with Garland? We should fire him. And why do we have an FBI chief who was appointed by the guy we're investigating? Does anybody see that as a conflict? No? It's amazing. It's really amazing. So, no, I'm not angry or upset. I'm chagrined at the future of America if we, the people, the voters, don't make a difference on Election Day. Can people be so passive while others are so stupid to lose this nation? I suppose it's possible. Jefferson didn't believe it could happen over time because the voters would decide what was right and good for the nation. And I've had kind of a quiet, subtle belief that that was true. But I see the people, including Zoe Lofgren. I was her chief of staff and I was her special counsel during the impeachment of Clinton. I see them deliberating to death. Why didn't they have the subpoena prepared when they voted on it? Why didn't it appear before the whole Congress the next day? Why hasn't he been served already? How do you serve a president? Well, you can serve people across the country, either personally or at their last place of business or their home. Make 7 copies of it and put it on the evening news. Tell us he doesn't have notice then. He's going to hide in his backyard somewhere, one of them. Is he going to be out playing golf? A former assistant, when I was a prosecutor, he went to Cuba to serve a defendant in a case. I don't know how valid it was, but it showed moxie, certainly. And that's when the office was a terror against corrupt politicians and major crime and drugs and everything else that sort of implanted in me this sense of what public obligation is all about. And I know there are prosecutors today who have that, but their leaders are shameful. Their leaders do nothing. Their leaders observe and watch and make excuses. And those who share that view, who are on the outside, they're the apologists for these incompetents. So, yes, this is a pretty sad statement. The other question is, why didn't they decide to call him months ago? When they began, why not the first week? Why not Pence? What is it? Does somebody have them by the short hairs too? I can't believe it, knowing them. Jamie Raskin, I am almost certain, wrote the language that everybody's talking about all day about the attack on Trump. Well, that's great, but when I was a kid in the yard, my parents taught me when people called me names to say, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, we find out as we get older, that's not exactly true. Jobs, marriage, society, and so forth. And so, we've had a lot of people issue words, and what's been the effect? No prosecution in Georgia, none in Washington, none in New York. The strongest case that's floating around is the Attorney General in New York, a civil case, and the criminal case the local DA in Manhattan County has against Bannon. We'll see if he dances a jig to that charge. So, what ray of hope can I give you, having given this assaultive review of how we're failing as a government? And the answer is us. It's on us. Every person you know has got to go vote, and they have to vote D. I don't care if the guy taught you law, has babysit your children, anything. If it's a Republican, it is not to be trusted. All this bullshit of us getting along and bipartisan, forget that, because we're the only ones saying it. They're not saying it or doing it, except to mislead people. This local congressional candidate that I've talked about before, Hung Pao, he's saying in his paid commercials, oh, don't worry, I care about everybody. Yeah, but I disagree with most of you, and if you elect me, you'll find out how much the disagreement is. So, I'm not among my trees, because I decided to walk down this path to see what the land looked like. So, until tomorrow probably, I'll see you, and let's hope somebody wakes up and does something dramatic and leads the way, because we shouldn't have to do this alone, but we are. Women, men, children, people whose future depends on better government than we have now, vote, and get everybody else you know to vote as well. Bye-bye.